Well, Noel, thank you very much for joining us through a digital environment. I think the message came across loud and clear. And it was also very illustrative to see all those beautiful examples on how Unilever is driving a purpose-driven marketing strategy regarding food and food-related trends. Our next speaker is somebody we all know. Her name is Renate Larsen. She is the CEO of the Norwegian Seafood Council. Renate will take us through the perspective of the Norwegian Seafood Council on consumer trends and drivers. Again, another digital challenge. Renate will join us by video. And this is actually because of the fact that the Norwegian Seafood Council recognizes that they're a global organization. They're traveling extensively and intensively. And with the ongoing COVID situation, also they have decided to limit travel. And for that reason, Renate will join us by video. So very much looking forward to her presentation on consumer trends and drivers, which will be driven through video.
Hello, Bergen. I hope that you are enjoying your conference so far. I'm so sorry that I can't be there today, but I'm still very glad that I have the pleasure to present an overview of the consumer market trends and drivers in some of our key markets, as seen from the Norwegian Seafood Council's perspectives. We export 95% of our seafood, so I think it's safe to say that Norway relies heavily on the global seafood market. Our standing as a seafood nation is further reinforced by a status as the second largest exporters in the world, only behind China. On the 6th of December 2019, we celebrated a milestone here in Norway when we reached 100 billion NOK in export value. The last 10 years, seafood export has doubled in value and making it the fastest growing industry in Norway, relatively speaking. Seafood exports totaled to 107.3 billion NOK in 2019. This represents 2.7 million tons of seafood. Last year, we exported our seafood to 149 markets across the world, providing consumers all over the world with 36 million meals of Norwegian seafood every day, underpinning our position as a seafood nation. From our vantage point, which of course is global, we see exciting trends taking shape across the world. Although we see variation between continents and regions and variations in consumer preference between neighboring countries, there is one unifying trend that I strongly believe will shape the next decade more than anything other: sustainability. And that consumers are becoming more conscious and responsible in their choices. And folks, the world's eyes are increasingly looking in the direction of the ocean for solutions. As consumers are increasingly making value-based choices and favoring food that are good for them, the families and the planet, seafood is, in my view, beautifully positioned as part of the solution. One of the blue papers from the high-level panels for sustainable ocean economy, which use data from 165 experts and scientists, concludes that the ocean could supply over 6 times more seafood than it does today. This represents more than 2/3 of the edible meat that the FAO estimate will be needed to feed the future global population. Also, another blue paper concludes that eating more seafood can play a large part of the solution to these climate changes. This represents a wonderful opportunity for us. This proves to show that seafood is a key part of the solution to many of the global goals for sustainable development. The seafood industry is an enabler for all the goals, and especially when it comes to some of the goals, providing consumers with good health and well-being, responsible consumption and production, most definitely, protecting the environment and reducing the carbon footprint, and life below water, obviously, we need to protect the sea. We need it for more food production. And partnership is crucial. We have to do this together. All of us, or all of you being gathered here today, is proof that we are living the goal. So seafood is part of the solution to the world's challenges. Now let's take a closer look at our consumer trends in key markets, trends that will shape our future as an industry, with the potential to strengthen our position as a protein source, and a protein source to be reckoned with. The NSC carries out an extensive consumer survey every year, and we have done so for the last 8 years. Our database, which we believe is the world's largest of its kind for seafood, consists of more than 200,000 respondents in more than 25 countries, covering attitudes, preference, behavior related to fish and seafood. We see that the main reason for choosing seafood across markets are convenience, health, food safety, taste, and sustainability. However, with convenient taste and health are quite stable, we see the biggest growth in food safety and sustainability. To use some important seafood market as an example, sustainability isn't, for the time being, one of the top reasons for choosing seafood in Japan, but we see clear signs of the growing importance. AEON, Asia's biggest retailer, is a driving force behind consumer-oriented eco-labeling schemes. AEON heavily promotes ASC and MSC certified products. We also see there is an ongoing effort by the organization of Tokyo 2020 to make the year's Olympics the most environmentally friendly to date. The sustainability concept of the game is be better together for the planet and the people. The sustainability plan includes an attempt to use only renewable energy, reduction of plastic waste, the reduction of food waste. They even had a goal of creating 5,000 gold, silver, and bronze medals by using recycled goods such as used mobile phones, and they plan to create the official Olympic athlete kit by using recycled materials. That's very good. And in a study in South Korea, we asked consumers to rate a set of statements according to importance when it comes to buying seafood. Safe to eat, followed by clear, marked with country origin, were ranked highest. Sustainability is further down on the list, but we know from other studies that sustainability, as in Japan, is growing in importance. Our finding has been backed up by studies performed by Korea Maritime Institute and Pukyong University, which confirms that credibility with regards to food safety is closely linked to country of origin, as is sustainability. So seafood from Norway is highly rated on seafood safety, and this is underpinning by the fantastic growth that we have seen in Norwegian export to South Korea over the last few years. We believe a combination of these three factors will be crucial in the years to come in Asia, as we see the same trends in other countries, including China and Southeast Asia. Results from a survey conducted in November last year indicated there are big generational differences in the UK. When it comes to purchasing reasons for fish and seafood, words like organic and sustainability resonates much stronger with the younger generations than with the older ones. However, boomers are more concerned with food safety and taste than the younger counterparts. What the world was like when we grew up has a profound impact on how we view and interact with the world around us as we get older. Science, technology, medicine, politics have evolved and changed a great deal over the course of the last decades. For instance, if you, as a teenager, grew up with landline, telephone, and the color TV, Chance is that you perceive smartphones and computers a little different than a teenager does today. These perceptions matters. Study shows that older generations place a different emphasis on purchase criteria for fish and seafood than their younger counterparts. If we take the criteria sustainability, we see that the Generation X and millennials find this more important than the generations of baby boomers. In fact, it becomes progressively more important as people get younger. Millennials are arguably the most educated, connected, confident, and independent generation in recent history, and they are driving trends as making changes. But what about the following, those who follow? If sustainable eating and living is as important for the millennials, what about Generations X, those who are between 11 and 23 years old now? I can't think of a better example of this value and driver for Generation X than this young Swede, Greta Thunberg. She's a defining force for the younger generation and society at large, providing us with a much needed wake-up call. I think it's clear for everyone that the world now has woken up when it comes to making choices that are good for our planet and our health, and that this force will gain strength in the years to come. And speaking of Greta Thunberg in Sweden, this is an interesting market with aware and trend-setting consumers. Our data shows that the massive increase in the importance of sustainability as a reason for choosing seafood. From 2012 to 2018, it has actually doubled. Studies indicate that almost a third of the population want to reduce meat consumption in favor of plant-based food and seafood. And the younger generation is taking the lead. The environmentally focused and healthy eating as a key driver. In a recent consumer study, these 3 dishes were named as the trendiest in Sweden: sushi, taco, and poke bowl. Now you probably think, taco, really trendy? Well, just a comment on this one. Sweden, a generally trendier and earlier adopter of international trends, certainly compared to Norway. But Friday taco has a long tradition in Norway. So on this one, we are ahead of Sweden, but only on this one. Well, 2 fish dishes are on the top of the 3 trend list. Great news, don't you think? Well, don't get too excited, because a look at the top 10 everyday meals serves is a reality check and a reminder that when we are talking about trends, changing habits takes time. Trends are one thing, but the choices that we make might differ. The list of most popular everyday meals in Sweden is dominated by traditional dishes like spaghetti and meat, sausage, chicken, fish, pasta, and salmon on the 10th place. Now, although consumers in Sweden want to eat more seafood, consumption has not increased. In other words, less meat or no meat does not necessarily mean more seafood. We see the same trend taking hold in many markets, an increase in the amount of vegetarians, vegans, and flexitarians, with a focus on sustainability and reducing meat consumption. Although seafood is seen as a healthy and sustainable option by consumers, seafood is simply not top of mind and loses out to plant-based alternatives. And whilst eating more plant-based food is a really good thing, I'm all for it, but we need to speak up for seafood and let consumers know that our seafood is sustainable and healthy protein option. Competition is tough, and we have to step up our game. This quarter nicely sums up the key trends. Consumers are increasingly making value-based choices, and they want to eat food that are good for them, for their family, the planet, and that they feel good about eating. Yes, quality and price is important, as is taste and convenient and healthy eating. But sustainability and value-based choices is increasingly important, especially for the younger generations. Not only consumers are emphasizing sustainability, the same goes for investors, driving by consumers' emphasis on transparency and traceability. The Coller FAIRR Protein Producer Index ranks 60 of the world's largest public listed protein producers on how they perform on sustainability. It's great to see Norwegian aquaculture companies performing so strongly, holding 4 of the top 10 spots and delivering on consumer expectations and trends. As my presentation is drawing to a close, let me wrap things up by highlighting that the consumer trends I've talked about here today, coupled up with the fact that so many of the solutions to the planet's changes are in the ocean, firmly position seafood as part of the solution. So let's seize the opportunity and take lead of the narrative on behalf of the seafood and the ocean. Consumer trends and drivers are on our side, but that's not enough in a landscape of tough competition between proteins. We all need to speak up and let our voices be heard in a world that needs more seafood. As a responsible seafood nation and the market leader, I assure you that we will do our bit in the years to come to make this happen. So thank you so much for your attention, and enjoy your conference, and goodbye from Tromsø.